Aubrey Gordon is a liar, and we should talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric, and I'm back at you with another video. Today it is Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. If you could do me a huge favor, please subscribe to my channel. Help me get to 6,000 subscribers. I greatly appreciate it. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this video. So I want to introduce you guys, if you don't know who she is, Aubrey Gordon. She's another big-time fat activist. She's a best-selling author. She's got hundreds of thousands of followers on her social media everywhere. And what she does is she goes out there and she spews more lies about the acceptability of being obese. It's okay to be fat. She's all about fat liberation, all these lies and things that we counter on this channel. And it's actually funny. She actually wrote a book. I think it came out earlier this year, and people on TikTok are going crazy for it.
Hello friends, I'm here with a book recommendation. This book is literally changing my life.
Hey friends, I just finished a book that I think everyone should read. If you're a fan of the Maintenance Phase podcast, you will definitely like this book, but it's really important for so many people. It's called What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat.
I've been reading What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat by Aubrey Gordon, and it's honestly one of the best books I've ever read.
Aubrey Gordon is a fat activist and fat herself, and this book has been blowing my mind.
So as you can see, there are tons of people, and there's even a lot more. So you could easily type Aubrey Gordon into TikTok, and you'll see tons of people giving massive positive reviews to her book about all these myths about being fat. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to react to this video as she's actually doing an interview with somebody, and she talks about some of these myths. I'm going to tell you exactly why she's a liar, all right? So let's get into it right away.
Diet culture, weight loss advertisements, you know them well, but there are a lot of myths about weight that are not backed by science.
And it's funny, like right off the bat, that they say that all these myths, all these things that we talk about are not backed by science, but then they'll continually go back to that 1959 study that I covered in yesterday's video, which was countered even by the person who headed up that study. And he said, hey, that's not true anymore. We have all this new science, we have all this new data, but yet they're going to grab onto that because it's a stat that's in their favor that says 95% of people will regain their weight. Like, it's impossible for you to lose weight and keep it off because the stats say that it is. So, you know, as much as they want to tout that there's all this anti-science out there regarding obesity, actually it's all the good science out there is in our corner. That's saying obesity is bad. All the medical science, all the real research being done today is saying obesity is bad for you. But any kind of evidence that says that, they claim is medical bias because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to be faced with the reality of what obesity is doing to people. So they say it's bad science, but then they'll turn around and they'll grab onto articles from 1959. It's ridiculous.
I'm Rachel Miller, Self's editor-in-chief, and today I'm going to talk to Aubrey Gordon about her new book, You Just Need to Lose Weight, and 19 Other Myths About Fat People. This is Self's Well-Read Book Club. The first myth is that obesity is the leading cause of death in the United States. Hi, Aubrey.
Hi Rachel, how are you?
Let's talk about the quote-unquote obesity, quote-unquote epidemic.
Yeah.
Saying obesity, quote-unquote, epidemic, quote-unquote, is like you're trying to minimize the fact that there is an obesity epidemic out there. Obesity is skyrocketing right now. Can you honestly say that you're going to disregard that? You're going to act like it's not true, that it's not happening? Obesity is skyrocketing amongst adults and amongst children, and all the illnesses and diseases that are a part of that are also skyrocketing, and people are dying because of it. People are dying because of obesity. Whether it's the leading cause of death, I don't know. I still think that might be heart disease or something like that, but obesity contributes to heart disease. So a lot of these illnesses and diseases like diabetes and heart disease and cancer and all that stuff, like obesity causes a lot of that stuff. So if they see a lot of bigger people and they die younger and they die from a heart attack or they die because they got cancer or they died for this reason or that reason, like, it's very easy for a doctor who does an autopsy to figure out exactly why this person died. And usually they can, with very good accuracy, say their obesity killed them. But I guess she's going to say that that's not true in some respect here.
Yeah, absolutely. People still believe that there are 360,000 Americans who just drop dead from being too fat every year.
Aubrey did a deep dive on the often cited statistic that around 400,000 people die of obesity every year.
And what many of those reporters have not done is read the actual paper that it's based on, which states plainly that the researchers' assumption is that every fat person who died in excess of thin people's deaths died of their fatness. And this is really one of those cases where the methodology here is extremely shaky. So here is that quote from that mortality study that suggested that our calculations assume that all, controlling for age, sex, and smoking, excess mortality in obese people is due to obesity.
I mean, why wouldn't they conclude that? If you have a list of the amount of people who are dying from heart attacks, just because they're an older age or whatever, like, you can list that out. And then when you add that up next to people who also have obesity, the people who have obesity, that list is longer. So they're willing to say, yeah, okay, the list of people who died from heart attacks, most of them were obese. So obesity is a contributing factor to people having heart conditions and heart issues, especially when they're dying younger and having heart attacks at younger and younger ages. Obesity definitely contributed to that. To say it doesn't is absolutely ridiculously wrong. And that's why I said she's a liar and she's dangerous. Because she's spouting these dangerous lies that try to make it out to be, okay, well, there's no real evidence that obesity is leading to all these causes of death. When there are multiple causes of death, there's multiple ways that obesity can kill you. It's not just hearts. It can be cancer. It can be strokes. It can be any kind of thing. All this extra excess body weight, you don't think it chokes out your organs? You don't think it builds up around your liver and your heart? You don't think it does any of that? That it makes it harder to pump blood throughout your body? That the fat doesn't get into your bloodstream? Like, you don't think any of that is possible? Come on, like, how dangerous are you?
Can you explain that a little more?
We've been assuming that if fat people lose weight, those fat people will then go on to live longer lives, and we don't actually know that.
We do know that. We can really, really study that. All right? We can see that as obese people are dying younger than people who are not obese. We can objectively see that. We say it all the time, right? That there's hardly any fat people in nursing homes. Yeah, you might have a few people who are slightly overweight, but there ain't no 600-pound people living to, 60 years old, all right? We just don't see it. So yeah, people are dying at younger ages due to their obesity because of the number of health issues and complications resulting from obesity. It's happening. To say we don't know that is a complete lie.
100%.
So when a fat person dies, it's much more likely that our death certificate will say, died of obesity, in the same way that when someone over 80 dies, it's much more likely that their death certificate will say that they died of natural causes. Most death certificates are filled out based on a visual assessment of what we assume is happening with that.
It's filled out by a medical professional who did an autopsy. Well, not every death has an autopsy. If you're 95 years old, you're probably not going to spend money or do an autopsy to find out that someone died of old age and natural causes. Like, okay, that's fine. But if you die at a younger age, if you die and you're trying to figure out why that person died, it's done by a medical professional who went to medical school and graduated and is able to make a professional assessment and say this person died as a result of their obesity. They died because they had a heart attack as a result of their obesity. They died from a stroke. They died from this. They died from that. They're able to determine that. To just blatantly say no, they have no idea. They're just going to look at you and then they're going to tell, from telepathy, like, oh, this person died from, oh, it was AIDS. Oh, wow, it wasn't AIDS. It was something else. Like, seriously? I mean, how ridiculous. Sorry, my back's really hurting today, so I keep moving around, and I'm still in my bed. So another complication from obesity is a lot of pain.
That person.
Aubrey also argues that we should unpack the term obesity more.
Anytime we're invoking, in this day and age, the term obesity, quote unquote, what we're doing is we're referencing the BMI.
And that brings us to our second myth, the idea that BMI is an objective measure of health.
It is worth noting that the BMI was never designed for use for individual healthcare. It was used as a statistical tool by a statistician and actually someone who was best known for being an astronomer.
And that's what it's used for today. If someone puts you on a BMI chart, it's a measurement that compares your weight to your height. All right? That's all it does. It is flawed. It's not 100% perfect. We're not saying it is, and we've never claimed the BMI chart is perfect on this channel. And this whole attack on the BMI chart, they just hate it. They absolutely hate it because they hate being able to go to the doctor's office and the doctor looking at you and seeing exactly where you are and being able to measure where you are on the BMI chart and saying, you know what, you're probably more at risk at certain things than somebody who's a little lower on the BMI chart. We're not saying people who are lower on the BMI chart can't develop issues. We know that they can. But the higher your BMI, the higher the risk of complications from your obesity. That's just true.
He developed the BMI entirely on the basis of data that he gathered from French and Scottish men in the 1800s. So it was developed entirely by and for white men to establish the idea of an average man. It has never been tested or meaningfully adjusted for use with communities of color or for anyone who's not a man.
That's a lie, too. The BMI chart has been adjusted, all right? It has been over the years. It's not just a measurement for men. They also include women. Race doesn't matter when it comes to the BMI chart. I don't know why they think it does. It absolutely does not matter. But you're trying to turn it into some racist thing because you hate it so much and you're trying to get it to go away. And like so many people try to do, they call things racist that they don't like so they can make it go away.
The BMI has come to popularity because of this idea that fatness alone is a health condition.
It is a health condition. Are you kidding me?
When really the way that we use it medically mostly is as a proxy for other health conditions. When we're looking at how someone comes to be a fat person, scientists have already pinpointed almost 60 genes that contribute to someone's body size, right?
Right. Unfortunately, as Aubrey points out, the BMI remains widely in use. Another myth Aubrey debunked is the idea that losing weight is just a matter of calories in, calories out.
This ought to be
We
good.
do know that calories in, calories out doesn't work. That idea came from a paper that was written by an MD in 1959. State of Science in 1959.
Right.
State of Science in 2023.
Right.
Different places.
Yep.
But you're probably still going to pull that out of your ass that 95% of people are going to regain their weight and fail their diet, right? Like that was a study from 1959. All these fat activists use that. They use all these studies from the 50s and 60s. But suddenly you don't like this one study. So you say, oh, it was from the 1950s. And so, science back then is different from science today. That was exactly my point in yesterday's video. But you're still going to use those bad stats. You're still going to use that bad information from 40, 50 years ago.
I think it's fair to say that the evidence that he was using at the time by today's standards would not reach the threshold of being considered like evidence-based medicine, right? His idea...
But it still is calories in, calories out. It still is that way. There is more to it. Yeah, we still have to think about the psychological issue. We have to think about all sorts of things. Your metabolism might be a little slower, a little faster, whatever. But I guarantee you, if you start cutting back your calories slightly, you'll start losing weight. If you start cutting certain things out of your diet and you start eating healthier, you'll start losing weight.
The idea was that 1 pound of body fat was 3,500 calories. Mm-hmm. So if you just created a 3,500 calorie deficit, you would lose a pound of fat. Congratulations, simple arithmetic. There you go.
Well, how is it if you go above that? All right, if you eat 3,500 calories, you're going to gain a pound of fat on your body. Like, if you keep consistently eating more calories, you keep getting bigger and bigger. So why isn't it the other way around? How come if you don't cut your calories back by a certain deficit that, oh, wait, I'm starting to lose weight? That's a miracle. Your calories seem to have a huge impact on whether you're gaining or losing weight. It's very, very easy to determine that by doing a little experiment on your own. Start cutting back a little bit and seeing what happens on the scale. Or maybe if you just want to add more calories again and see what happens on the scale.
The challenge is a couple of things.
Right.
One, as any person who has tried to lose weight knows, your weight loss progress starts off pretty strong and then it starts to slow down. And then after a while it plateaus. That's because your body is learning to downshift to meet the amount of energy that you're giving it. So it starts burning less because it's searching for some kind of stasis.
There's a lot of different scenarios at play there with that. And I talk about it a lot on this channel, right? You start losing a lot of weight at first, but a lot of that is water weight. And so what happens is when you lose a lot of water, your body tries to replace that water. So that's why you plateau, all right? You lose a lot of water weight. You think everything's going great on your diet. And then so you start to plateau because your body is trying to keep water in your system. So you're still losing fat, but the scale might be stopped for a little bit. So you plateau. And guess what? People get frustrated because the scale's not going down. And what happens when they get frustrated? They get stressed out. It impacts their hormones. They end up going back to eating the way that they were because they're like, this diet's not working. I need to give up on it. And that's how they live their life. That's why they keep crash dieting and yo-yo dieting. And they keep, like, tomorrow I'm going to go on a diet and I'm cutting out all this sugar and I'm cutting out all these calories. And I'm going to go from eating 5,000 calories a day to eating 1,200 calories a day. And their body doesn't like it. And they don't know what's going on. And that's why I often talk about you should slow down the process. Don't be in a rush to lose all your weight up front because it's not going to happen. Cut back a couple hundred calories. Learn and study the way that you should be eating. Start cutting back on certain things. Transition out from eating a lot of the junk to eating better or making better substitutions in your diet. So there are successful ways of doing it. But just because a lot of people don't do it the right way and they try to rush it and their body goes through withdrawals because they try to cut sugar or they lose a lot of water weight and they regain that water weight back, does not mean that your body's not losing fat at the same time. So there's a lot of different scenarios at play here. That doesn't mean she has the right to just dismiss it. She's being absolutely ignorant here.
Many complications with the sort of calories in, calories out formula, but that's a big one. It's not a straight line.
Right.
Over time, your body starts to overcorrect, as we've seen through that pattern of weight regain.
No, it doesn't overcorrect like that, all right? So it might be like a little stair step. You might lose a pound, go down, and then maybe it plateaus a little bit. And then it'll go down again, and then it'll plateau. And then it'll go down and it'll plateau. It's like a stair step. It's not a straight linear line. It's a stair step. That's how it happens. But if you keep up with it, if you do not give up during the plateaus, if you don't just start adding a little more calories in here and there, like a lot of people do, you will consistently lose weight. But you got to battle through the plateaus and not give up on it. Any type of calorie restriction diet is going to work for you.
Listen, I am sure there is a minimum of one person
there's always
watching
one
this video
person
right now who has crash dieted. If you have crash dieted, my guess is that you know not all weight loss is healthy weight loss. So there is one longitudinal study of folks who were on the TV show The Biggest Loser. Folks were exercising sometimes hours a day and reducing their caloric intake really dramatically to like medically troubling levels. And what they found was that over time, that amount of crash dieting and trying to maintain that level of weight loss took so much from folks that those folks actually had permanently suppressed metabolisms, presumably as a result of this volume of crash dieting. So we're sending fat folk.
Well, that part's a little true, because what The Biggest Loser did was absolutely wrong, and they destroyed those people's lives because, you know, their full-time jobs were to work out, right? They did restrict their calories some, but it was like working out 7-8 hours a day, and nobody's going to be doing that. So of course what happens when they leave the show, they're not doing that anymore. They're not working out 8, 9, 10 hours a day, right? They got lives, they have, you know, jobs, they have everything else. So that's why most of them ended up gaining the weight right back. So That's what happened. What happened on The Biggest Loser was very troublesome. I wouldn't look at them as any kind of real basis for how people are struggling to lose weight.
In particular, off to do something that is scientifically impossible and that is fundamentally, like, even if it were possible, is a weird way to handle the existence of people who don't look the way you want them to look. A 2015 research review of sort of
I'm tired of that argument. It's not about making you look the way I want you to look. It's not about hating you. It's about loving you and realizing that there are complications to obesity, and if you do not lose weight, you are at risk for higher complications of over 200 different diseases and illnesses. So I don't care that you look the way you look. It's not about that. If you want to look fat and you think you're fabulous, fine, stay fat. It's not about trying to change the way you look. It's not trying to press you into some sort of modern day beauty standard. That's not what it's about. It's about your health. It's because we care about you. We love you. We want you to be around. We want you to be healthy and happy. And you can't be that when you're 500, 600, 700 pounds. Or even if you're just 100 or 200 pounds overweight, you cannot be that. No matter how much you try to lie to yourself and say that you are, that's a self-defense mechanism that's blowing up in your face because you know deep down inside you are miserable. And so that's why my channel exists. I'm trying to help you overcome that. I'm trying to help convince you that it's a mental battle, but you're not willing to fight that fight. That's why you keep lying about what real science says about obesity.
sort of calories in, calories out. It was published in the Journal of the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And they said that calories in, calories out is easy to use, but, quote, lacks a contemporary scientific foundation and leads to a large error in weight loss prediction, even over the short term. Like, don't use it ever. Guys, just like, don't use it ever.
Because it's the one metric that you have that can reliably help you lose weight, and suddenly you're like, don't use it ever. Don't ever use it because it works. And we don't want you to realize that calories in, calories out works, so let's just throw it out with the bathwater.
Says the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics.
That's not what they said.
Just the tip of the iceberg of the myths and misconceptions that Aubrey debunks in her book.
There was one Harvard researcher who gave a real chef's kiss of a quote, which he just said, you can't pick the right diet if none of them work.
I wrote in my notes, diets don't work, exclamation points.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tricky thing about just lose weight, which is like a catchphrase of like so many people who have never been fat, right? It's like, just lose weight, just do it, it's fine. Is
as a fat person, just lose weight. Just lose weight. And I don't mean to just shrug my shoulders as if that's an easy thing to do. I've talked about that tirelessly on this channel. It is difficult. We understand that. But if you don't like the way the table is set, you can change the table. You are in charge of what you put into your mouth. You are in charge of what you do with your body. Move around more, eat less, you will lose weight. And all these miserable feelings that you feel, all this self-loathing and hatred that you feel, all this change that you want in your life, you could actually overcome it. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people in the comments here who are going to say, yeah, Big T, I did it. I lost weight and I've kept it off. I get these comments every single day, hundreds of comments from people who tell me the same thing. I was able to lose weight and I was able to keep it off. It is possible. You can do it. If you want to look better, lose weight. If you want to get a better job, lose weight. I'm living that myself. I couldn't find a job for nothing because I was almost 700 pounds. Now I have a full-time job because I've lost 200 pounds and I'm able to do it. Are you lonely and you want to be in a relationship with someone who's not a feeder? Lose some weight. If you want to be able to fit on an airline seat, lose some weight. If you want to be able to travel somewhere, lose some weight. Like, that's it. Lose weight. That's the solution there. You're not going to change the culture of the world and force people to give you free airline seats and change the plane designs and do all this other stuff because you just feel bad about yourself and you think the world needs to cater to you instead of you doing what you need to do to change so you can be happy and healthy. Anyways, I'm going to leave it here, guys. I've said all I have to say about this, but yeah. Aubrey Gordon is a liar. So let me know what you think about this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, and yeah, I love you guys so very much, and I hope to see you guys next time. I love you. God bless you.